I've heard ladies say, but it wasn't like this when we were dating. Or, we got married and he just changed all of a sudden. Well, I'm just here to say that he was like that when you all were dating. He didn't change after you all got married. He's always been like that. Sure, perhaps he was pretending, but that just tells that he's always been like that. He was only putting up a front, putting on a charade. You just didn't see it. You couldn't tell the difference between genuinity and ingenuity, or you could tell them apart but chose to ignore. You chose to ignore his temper issues. You chose to ignore his stinginess. You chose to ignore his secretiveness. You chose to ignore his beastly nature. You chose to ignore his arrogance. You chose to ignore his condescending manner of speaking. You chose to ignore how he hardly gives you attention. You chose to ignore how he always belittled your occupation. You chose to ignore how he acted around children. You chose to ignore how he treated you and other women. You chose to ignore how he spoke to your parents. You chose to ignore how he always tried to cut you off from your friends. You chose to ignore how he always sounded visionless, directionless, aimless. You chose to ignore how he was comfortable in joblessness. You never saw the need to discuss or know his thoughts on essential topics like intimacy, beliefs, finance, assets and liabilities, family, the roles of a husband and a wife, morals, your expectations, your career, your plans, etc. And why? All for what? Just so you could be called Mrs. Just so you could change your last name. Because of pressure from society and from your family. Because you were turning 30, 40 or 50 and you were feeling old. Because you thought men are scarce, so you wanted to hold on to the one before you. Were all of these things more important than your life, your health, your well-being, your mental health, your peace, the peace of mind of your family, your future children? Quick question. Did you never consider if that man would be a good husband to you and a good father to your children? Or you thought you could change him? You thought you could tame him? Why? Is he a lion? Is he a tiger? Or a dog? Is he an animal of any sort? Why don't you get your priorities straight? Do you not know that people will always talk? Have some self-respect, self-esteem, self-love. Be headstrong.